I want to share something that I started on the last live really quick to preface what we're talking about. Is that cool?
Go for it, girlfriend.
So I was out to eat yesterday with a friend, and then I met one of her girlfriends, and she was so sweet. And she was talking about how, like, there's no good guys out there. And it was so interesting. Of course I stopped. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, in my mind, but then it hit me like a bag of bricks. And I'm like, holy shit, like, I literally used to be her. And there's so many women and men that feel like there's not good women out there, and vice versa. And it feels so real. Like, that is reality. Right. And that used to be my reality. So I was talking with Matt, and we want to come in here and we want to talk about that to support you guys in knowing that there's so many incredible people out there. And a lot of times we're just not even available to see them for multiple different reasons. Right. It's a case by case. But we want to come in here and just shower y'all with some love, because life's too short to hide from love and to feel like there's not a good person out there for you. So absolutely. I'll let you take it from there.
100%. Yeah, and I love how you said, like we choose to see things the way that we choose to see them. I feel like a lot of times we have, because of the beliefs that we've, internalized over the course of our lives, we have selective blindness, right? We're only going to see the things that are in alignment with the beliefs that we have. So if the belief that we've attached ourselves to is the belief that there are no good, insert men, women, jobs, whatever out there, then that's what we're going to see. And we're going to be subconsciously it's confirmation bias is like the term. Like, we're continually looking for things to confirm that belief. And it's a vicious perpetuating cycle. So every Bumble date that you bumble out on, the guy's going to be a douche, because you've already committed at a belief level to that being your reality, and it's like, it all starts there by, like, what stories have you made up? Because those stories are the most powerful way that we hide, I think, from a love and from a relationship and a life that we're truly worthy of, and it can't be hard though sometimes. Isn't it interesting, Rebecca? Do your clients ever fight for their limitations, like when you're coaching them?
Of course. And I think sometimes they won't fight, they just won't say anything at all, and they'll just say, I'm like, you're just agreeing with me to agree with me. Like, tell me what's really going on in that head of yours.
Mm-hmm.
So I think even more so, because I love that you're already going there real quick. You're going deep real quick. Even with that being said, so if we are only available for what we choose to believe in, this plays out in all aspects of our lives. Like, it truly does. So I think it's so important that we share with you guys listening that this is the work that Matt and I get to constantly be conscious of too, in all areas of our life. Like, what space am I choosing to operate from, right? Because our beliefs and our values are so intrinsically tied that that's also playing out in the rest of our life. So we love going there right away, because we know that if we can get into your belief system and we can, shift that around, then all of a sudden your external environment begins to match that.
Absolutely. And Rebecca, do you find, and we were talking about this earlier, that people, by the way, have you shared this, Ronnie? Have you shared this on your page?
What?
Have you shared the video?
Oh, shit. No.
Yeah. Okay. Just making sure.
Sorry, Grandma. I just swore. Hang on. I can't fudge. I'm on my phone.
All right. So what I'm saying, what I was saying is that, people, I think, they have these beliefs, right, that all men are terrible, or all women are terrible, and then they're like, so that underlying belief is there. Then they go and they hire a coach, or they just start buying courses and programs and stuff, and they start taking all these courses that are giving them, like, strategies and action plans and sequences of texts and all this bullshit.
Band-aids, a bunch of Band-aids.
Band-aids. You can't put a Band-aid on cancer. That doesn't work. Yeah. Like, if you've got a deep latent issue when it comes to this. Yeah, exactly. you gotta get to the core of what's actually happening and root it out, right? Like, and people hide. I think a lot of times people hide behind the information. Like, they hide behind taking all these courses and doing all these scripts, and then they say, well, even with the coach and even with all the stuff, all these different, courses that I bought, it's still not working. So the courses end up reinforcing the belief even more, Yeah.
And then that's the most disempowering thing, because if it's something outside of you, you will always lose. You will always lose, because guess what? If it's something outside of you, you're powerless, right? So this is good. So let's look at, I love where we're going with this. And also, so for the single people on here, or even people in relationship that want the relationship to be more amazing, like, what's your vision? What is it that you want to experience in relationship? Because in order to get excited about dating, like, you have to, like, have something that lights you up.
Yeah.
right? And a lot of time people go to get excited about it and they're like, but that doesn't actually exist. And then it's a catch-22 when they're not even dating. So
Yeah.
I always say, I'm like, fucking journal your heart out. Like literally stop trying to be realistic. Stop trying to be reasonable. Like pretend like the world is your oyster and let it flow. Like what does he show up on a white horse? Like I don't care. Like I don't care. Get something that excites you out there, and then you all of a sudden you start turning on new connections in your brain versus always focusing on all the things you don't like.
Yeah. All the things you don't like, all the bad experiences that have happened, all the, the beliefs you've made up about yourself based upon the things you don't like and the experiences you've had that sucked. I remember I started working with one of my clients and I looked at her Match.com profile or whatever, and her profile paragraph was so angry and so defensive. It was like, I know what I want and I'm not willing to settle for anything less, and these are my interests, and I need this and I need that, and you could just feel like in her profile, like as a man, I'm like, oh my God, this chick has been burned a bunch of times and it's coming off, it's showing up in the way that she's showing up out there in the world, just in her profile. So you got to understand, like, if that's the energy that you're bringing out there, that's coming from within you. You got to really correct this thing foundationally.
Yeah.
If you want to get past it. Poppy has a great quote. Are you more committed to what you want? Are you more committed to what you want, or to the story you tell yourself about why you can't have it? Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great one. Hi, Carrie. Hi, Lotus. Hi, Sasha. Hi. I think that's a great quote, Poppy. And hi, Angel. And it's so true. And both have benefits, right? And both have costs, right? So you get to decide which one's more important. So I think also in this, did you talk about, what did you put in the caption? Did you talk about hiding from love, or should we go there?
Hiding the ways that we hide from love. Like, we're not getting the outcome. So how are we hiding from it? And I already touched on the one of, we're hiding behind doing a bunch of coursework and buying a bunch of programs instead of doing the foundational belief work that's necessary to get to the bottom of it, right? And to rebuild it from the ground up. So that's one way people hide. Yeah. What's another way people hide? What are the way your clients, how do your clients hide?
I think it's it's interesting because I talked about being too picky lately, and I talked about how it's important that you don't settle. But there's a different side of when people are picky from a place of judgment to protect themselves. So they'll have a surface level checklist. So for example, say a girl meets a great guy and she's like, oh my gosh, like I thought he was great, but then like I just like found out like he like barely talks to his mom, and like just he has like kind of attitude. Like they'll like look for something wrong and be like next. Like it's a constant way to hide and to protect yourself. So because then God forbid he actually is an amazing person, and then what if he ends up leaving you, right? What if you get rejected? It's like this whole illusion to keep yourself safe. And I think people are smart, and if they really sat with themselves, they would know if they're doing this or not. But that takes courage. That takes a lot of courage. But then again, what do we want, right? We want an amazing life. We want an amazing love life. And that's what Matt and I want for the entire world. Like we stand for that. So really ask yourself if this is landing with you, like, am I too picky to protect myself? Like I used to do that, I used to do that. And I've seen plenty of women do that, and know that that's a way, again, to keep someone at bay and to not let them in closer to you.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, like you gotta recognize that if you want love, but you're unwilling to take a risk with your heart and with your emotions, if you want love, but you're unwilling to take a risk, it's like wanting to go to the grocery store and pressing the gas pedal on your car and also keeping the parking brake fully locked the entire time. You're giving the world, you're giving yourself and the universe, you're giving them conflicting signals, right? You have to be willing to risk hurt and pain in order to be able to experience love, because love comes from vulnerability, and vulnerability comes at that risk. And that's what makes it beautiful and sacred, and part of what makes it so special. So, like we can't just play safe in any part of our lives if we want to get, profound and beautiful results. And we can't hide from the potential of pain. I think.
I love that you shared that. And something that's coming to mind is that it's such a practice and it's such an art. And I'll even being in relationships, there's times when I still want to go into protecting myself, and then Drew will pick up on that, and he's like, I just feel like you're not committed. And I'm like, what? Where's he? But then when I'm really honest with myself, when I stop and I'm like, holy crap, like there is still times when I'm like, I'll push back, and I have to really stop and be aware of that, because I don't want my partner experiencing that energy from me. So I think it's so valuable and so important to see this as a consistent journey, and to be patient with yourself, and to know that it's so beautiful when you let someone in close. And that's what we want for you guys, because there's so much love and magic, so much growth.
There is. And taking this like to the whole masculine feminine thing, I know that, you know, women want to feel safe from their men, and I completely agree with that. But the duality of that, the inverse of that, is also super, super true. We as men, we need to feel safe with you, because a lot of times in our relationships is the only way we have to really express our feelings, right? Whether it be through touch or even through our words, right? So if we feel like our partner isn't fully committed, like if Drew didn't think that you were fully invested in him, and then he wouldn't feel safe to be vulnerable with you. And if men can't feel, if men can't be vulnerable with their women, then they're not going to really feel like they can be vulnerable anywhere, because that's like the only space we have to really do that. That's the freedom.
Take off the armor.
Yeah, exactly. Poppy has a great comment here. Whatever we look for, we will find. We attract what we're ready for. So much shows up for us in our greatest growth and expansion. We forget to look for the lesson. We get lazy about the steps required for attracting what we want. Acting as if is imperative and works both positively and negatively. It's easy to understand, but challenging to live by. Ain't that the truth?
Wow. Poppy's dropping knowledge. Everyone go follow Poppy and add her. She's awesome. I ran into her at, she said mic drop. I ran into Poppy at Tony Robbins.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, we were both there. I'm like, Poppy, this is so good. So hi, Michelle, and love to you as well, Lotus. This is so amazing. So we have like 2 minutes left. Is there anything? Oh, she said something about Tony Robbins. I heard Tony say, if you drove a car looking only in the rear view mirror, you're going to crash. Yeah, that's good. She said, is it wrong? Michelle said, is it wrong? Should I lean back like I'm always told? Oh, she said, I get mixed up. A guy I've started messaging keeps saying I'm mostly busy, but message me and I'll reply when I can. He's a police officer, only recently started texting, but I have to text him. That's what he likes. Okay, how do you know that's what he likes? Is my first question. And do you want to be with a man do you want to be with a man that courts you and he can't wait to see you? That's something, Michelle, that you got to get clear on.
And just because a man is a police officer or he has any kind of busy and demanding job doesn't mean he can't create time and space for you in some way. You know, I mean, I appreciate that he was clear on what he's able to do. He said he will respond when he can, but it should not always be up to you to initiate the conversation. As a police officer, he knows better than anybody that sometimes you have to initiate a situation with a person. Right? Like police officers do that a lot. So he gets to do that with you as well. Like, so you get to ask yourself what you want, because polarity wise, that doesn't make sense to me, you know?
Yeah. And I think even one more thing, and I love that, Matt, is Michelle, she said, is that wrong? Should I lean back like I'm always told? So just in that one statement, notice how if you feel like you lean, sorry, I was getting a call. I think that might be because of my appointment. Notice how if you are leaning back because you feel like it's the right thing to do, it can become about playing a game to get the guy, which is not what you want to do. You get to ask yourself, when you feel like texting him first, what is causing you to feel like you need to be the one to initiate conversation? So ask yourself that in that next moment, and then allow yourself to lean back from a desire of wanting to be courted like a princess, right? Allowing yourself to, or not. Some people hate the word princess, like a queen, or whatever.
Like a goddess, like a goddess.
No, but yeah, whatever. So asking yourself, okay, like, do I desire to like allow a man to court me? And then do you trust, Michelle, that a man will court you and will be the one to initiate and reach out to you? Because a lot of times, sometimes women will reach out because a little part of them doesn't fully trust that a man will see it all the way through, right? So this is just some questions to ask yourself, and if you need more guidance, just message me and I'll support you. But I gotta go because I'm gonna be late to my appointment.
All right, sweetie. I'll wrap up and give some final thoughts, and then we'll close it down for everybody who's watching.
What time is it? What time does it say on your computer?
I think it's 2 minutes till.
Okay. Okay. I love you guys. I love you, Maddie.
Mwah.
I
Love you,
so
honey.
much. Okay, I'm gonna go cry later.
It's been amazing doing Wasabi Wednesday with you for the past over a year.
I know. We're gonna definitely have to come in here in like a couple months from now and surprise you guys. And you should. I wish I could stay on longer so we could share about when we started Wasabi Wednesday. But it's so much fun, and I'm gonna miss it. So we're still gonna be doing stuff like together, you guys. It's just gonna be a different fashion with a wider audience, so we can serve more people. And again, my ladies, you can go to whatkeepsyousingle.com, and that's my domain, so you can just plug in your info so we can stay in touch and I can continue to support you. And I'm gonna write it in right here, and then I'll what keeps and then I'll let you wrap it up, Maddie. I love you so much.
I love you, sweetie.
Let's see, this is so funny. I've never typed like this on here.
It's awkward. It's awkward typing in landscape. Yeah.
Okay, I love you guys.
Love you, honey. Mwah.
Bye.
Bye. Gosh. Hi, everybody. What's going on? Wasabi Wednesday. Michelle, everybody who's still watching, Lee, Ben Smith, Poppy. Guys, I just want to wrap up with some final thoughts on this whole experience, doing this Wasabi Wednesday experience with Rebecca. Like literally, this whole thing started, believe it or not, where Rebecca and I were carpooling back from an ALA event. We were just in the car bantering about our ridiculous love lives and stories, going back and forth. And, you know, we just had a thought. I can't remember if I suggested it or if she suggested it. I think I might have, but, you know, that might also just be my ego taking the helm here. But I was like, why don't we do a Facebook Live show? Would be cool, right? Because I've been doing my own show for about a year at the time, and Rebecca was like, yeah, we could do a Facebook Live, and like, yeah, do it on love and relationships and dating, and just make it fun and light and fun and all that stuff. And so we talked about it, and we decided, you know what? Why don't we just do it? And so we started Wasabi Wednesday over a year ago. And in that time, I mean, we've done what, 60, 70 shows, maybe more. Just so many amazing shows. We've got tens of thousands, maybe 100,000 views. I don't know, a lot of views for, you know, micro Facebook world, right? And we've helped a lot of people with their love and their relationships and their dating and their connection. And I mean, it has been such a powerful tool for me because I've learned so much about love and relationships. And what I've grown so much just from sharing these talks with you every week, dialoguing with Rebecca about this stuff every week. It's been such a profound experience. Like the only Facebook Live I've ever done with a couple drinks in me was a Wasabi Wednesday while I was home over Christmas. That was super fun, doing a dating live while I was like a little buzzed. I mean, it's been one of these experiences that has given me so much joy, and it's been so much joy to support you guys in your dating, in your love, in your relationships. I have realized, Lee's asking, what have I learned? Oh my God. What I have learned, if there was one core, and guys, I invite you to share things that you've learned as well. If I were to say one thing that I've learned that has been completely and fundamentally transformative to me was how much the quality of my relationships are a reflection of where I'm at. You know, like I have all this, it's like so often in my life, like before I really started doing inner work, I would predicate my value on my relationships. I would identify myself with my relationships. I thought that my relationships were, you know, this defining thing of me, when in reality, like every relationship I have ever had. What's up, Thomas Mangum? How you doing, my man? Good to see you. Give me a one, guys, if you're happy to be here. I know I'm excited to be here because, like, I have found that relationships are the most powerful mirror that we have for ourselves, our love of ourselves or our lack of love for ourselves, our sense of worthiness or lack of worthiness. And I mean, you can just tell so much about who you are and where you're at in your own progression by the relationships that you attract into your life, by the way that your dates go. You know, and if you can make that commitment to use dating as a tool for growth and a tool for self-exploration, I mean, that makes it so much more fun. It makes it so much more profound, right? If you stop using a relationship as something to define you, as something to complete you, as something to give your life meaning or worth or value, if you can draw a line in the sand and just commit to yourself that you're not going to let that happen anymore, that you are not the sum total of the relationship that you're in. You are not that. You are so much more than that. Like, these relationships are important, but they're a tool. They're a mechanism, right? They're an avenue for just, that's why, like, be playful. If there's one thing I've learned about dating, another thing I've learned about dating, it's the value of releasing outcome attachment and just being playful and having fun with it. Like, what is this person here to teach me? I mean, I might go out on a date with somebody, and this has happened to me before. I go out on a date and the person is ridiculous. Not at all a match. But then, instead of just being like just running away from the situation, what can I learn from the fact that I sourced this person? What can I learn from the fact that I attracted this nutcase into my life? How can I have fun with this situation that I found myself in? You know? And then just don't repeat it moving forward. I think if people out there, I think there's so much pain and there's so much almost torture that people go through when they're on dates, right? There's so much pain that gets cycled and recycled and recycled in dating. We just take the pain. We talked about this on the live today. So many people just take the pain of their past, they take all the wounds of their past, and then they internalize all that stuff, right? And then they just see the world through the lens of all the douches they've dated, all the times they've been betrayed, all the people that have sold out on them, picked them over, cheated on them, everything else. They look at everybody who's out there through that lens. And then all they do is keep on bringing in other people to prove themselves right. And I was one of them for a long time. The toxic people I brought into my life over and over and over and over again, just proving me right that I wasn't worthy of being loved and seen at my deepest level. Does that relate to anybody? Can anybody relate to doing that? Give me a 1 if you can. Because I know for me in my life, the greatest thing I ever did was say, I don't want to love anybody else more than I love myself. I get to make myself my first and greatest priority. And with the clients that I work with every day, Melissa and Aaron and all these other beautiful women that I work with, a lot of what that work comes down to, it comes down to relationships. And I tell these girls, and they're getting it. As they fall in love with themselves, they start attracting deeper and more beautiful and more powerful relationships into their lives. As you fall in love with yourself and you make yourself your first priority, you become magnetic to men. You become magnetic to people. Forget men, to everybody, right? And that comes down to making a decision that nobody else in your life is going to be a bigger priority than you. Because when you are your top priority, what happens? You show up more powerfully in relationship. You show up more powerfully out there dating. You're not attached to the outcome. Because regardless of whether this date goes well or goes terrible, or the person falls in love with you, or they don't, or they like you, you don't know, or they leave halfway through, it doesn't matter. Because it doesn't define you. It's beautiful when you can operate from that space of non-attachment, right? Lee gets what I'm saying. Poppy gets what I'm saying. Truly, we attract what we are, right? So when we get something, when we attract something that we don't like, we get to look at what part of ourselves, what part of our shadow, what part of ourselves are we ignoring? What part of ourselves are we suppressing? What part of ourselves are we avoiding in our lives? I think that's one of the greatest ways, because there's two important things that relationships can show us, right? The deepest parts of our beauty and the deepest parts of our darkness. And what's interesting is it's almost been harder for me to, at least in the early days of doing this work, it's been harder for me to believe women when they would tell me how great I was, right? I would just want to brush that off. I would deflect that. Can any of you guys relate to that? Somebody tells you how much they love you. They tell you how beautiful you are, how wonderful you are, how happy you make them, all the things that are so great about you. And you're like, yeah, well, thanks a lot, but you're fucking crazy, you know? Isn't that something that happens? For me, it's been almost hard. That's been even harder for me to process and land in the early stages of my journey. The more of this work I do, the more inner work I do, the more I'm like, when someone tells me that they love me, or that I'm this like great leader, or that, you know, they love what I said or what I did or whatever, or they just tell me I'm pretty. Something like that. I now I let it land. I allow that in, and I say, you know what? Maybe I don't see that about myself in this moment, but if this person sees it in me, it must be something that I'm shining out. Because what this person is telling me is a reflection of who I am. Truly. And the opposite too. So it's really being able to like let this stuff land and being able to learn from our partners, both from what they're saying and what they're not. Because that's the catalyst for growth. What Poppy says, this is what it is. This is sophisticated psychology, and I think it's a basis of transformation. Jill says, I'm not fucking crazy, just real and authentic. Amen, sister. Me too. That's all. That is my wholesale commitment to humanity, is to be real and authentic and to show up vulnerably. You know, and I think that's another thing, maybe just a point that I've learned and that we talked about earlier, but I think is worth repeating here, is that there is nothing, you will not be able to achieve love or intimacy with another human without risking your heart. Like the degree of love that you will create and foster in your life is directly tied to your ability to stand in your fear and step into vulnerability and risk being hurt. So Michelle says, I mean, I'm assuming Michelle, what are your fears? What are the things you're afraid of? And what price are you paying when you let those fears win? Like Michelle says, she's afraid of men being unfaithful to her. So Michelle, because you're afraid of men cheating on you, how do you show up? Like what result does that create in your behavior? What result does that belief have? Do you back away from men? Do you fear intimacy? Do you shut down? Do you have walls up? Because the first step I work through with all my clients is help them identify the layers of walls and false beliefs that they've put up to shield themselves from hurt, to shield themselves from being hurt. As Lee says, we are not delicate flowers. We're not. You get your heart broken, you know what? If you experienced true, genuine love, if you got growth out of that experience, and then that person broke your heart, that's still something to be grateful for. I don't understand why people think, like, if you had been terrified of skinning your knee, you never would have learned to ride a bike. Was it worth skinning your knee to ride the freaking bike as a kid? Absolutely. What's up, Kim Frederick? How you doing, my dear? Like we gotta be willing to say, you know what? The juice is worth the squeeze, right? The juice is worth the squeeze. It's worth the pain, because it's worth the pain to experience that love. And just because a relationship doesn't last forever doesn't mean it wasn't worth having. Just because you didn't get married to that person doesn't mean it wasn't worth having. And this is something that Rebecca and I have gone back and forth on, right? Because she has a perspective on it, and I have a perspective on it. I think you can achieve transformation from a 1 week connection with a human being. I think that profound expansion, profound deep connection can be fostered, and you can grow from a connection that lasts, hell, a night, or a week, or a month, or a year, or the rest of your life. I think to pigeonhole that we can only achieve love and growth in a lifetime relationship, I think to pigeonhole it as that kind of like cuts us off from immense possibilities of what's possible for us in our life. Some of the greatest lessons that I've learned in my life have come from relationships that were either ill-advised, started with like a drunk, stupid decision, you know, just a drunk liaison, ended up like blossoming into a very beautiful and progressive and expansive relationship for me and for my partner that went on for like a year. The entire life I have now as a leader is kind of based on one of those. Because she was the one who connected me with ALA and with leadership training. Think about that. If I hadn't done that, if I hadn't made one objectively by social standards very ill-advised decision, and went home with a girl from my mastermind after drinking 2 bottles of wine years ago, if I hadn't done that, there is a significant possibility that I would have never discovered ALA, never done leadership training, and not connected and spoken to thousands and thousands of people around the world and committed my life to service. Isn't that remarkable? So yeah, so here we got some great comments happening here that I want to. Michelle says, I think I initiate all relationships. And Michelle, is that working for you? Is that something that's working for you? Because if you're constantly in that masculine space of pushing and initiating relationships with men and pursuing commitment, then you got to ask yourself if that's what you want and shift that around, right? Michelle, what saying do you love? Lee says, everyone around us has lessons and blessings for us. Amen. Poppy is relating to us here that she's saying she also used to be like that, I guess, pursuing commitment, pursuing men like that. Then she looked around at where she was being unfaithful to herself. And the minute she started doing for herself the things she said she would do and took better care of herself, the men she attracted totally changed. They were unfaithful to me as I was to myself. Whatever we don't like in others is a challenge for us to overcome from within. And that's it, guys. It's exactly what we've been talking about. Is like the people everyone we are attracting into our lives is there to teach us something, right? Either teach us how to shift, teach us what's working, show us how beautiful we are, help us transition out of what's not working in our lives. And that's the thing. If we stop looking at every relationship as a make or break, run to the altar, and started looking at each relationship as a mechanism for us to learn and grow and expand as human beings, then it's going to be a lot more fun. It's going to be a lot less stressful. You're going to learn a lot more. You're going to cut yourself off from a lot fewer possibilities. And it's just going to benefit you more as a human. And along the way, as you learn from your relationships and you shift what's not working and you fall deeper and deeper in love with yourself, you are going to start attracting people into your life who love you that much. And you're going to be able to pick who you want to be with for the rest of your life. Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't it be cool if you took the pressure off yourself of finding the one and realized that most likely, and not most likely, for sure, there is a vast spectrum of beautiful, evolved, profound human beings who would love to love you for the rest of your life if you commit to loving yourself for the rest of your life. And then all you get to do is just choose from the soulmate buffet and pick the one that is most in alignment with the vision of what you want your life to look like and how you want to feel. There is no one. I don't believe it. I think that whole concept of the one person cosmically in the world that's the only person for you, that's so much pressure, and I don't think it's true. Personally, if I'm just being real with y'all. Lee says, experience life instead of trying to control it. Exactly, Lee, because guess what, y'all? Control is an illusion. You're not controlling, you can't control anything outside of yourself. And even then, the soulmate buffet, even our ability to control ourselves is debatable at some point, right? Can y'all agree with me there? Exactly, Poppy. Soulmate buffet, baby. You have a buffet of people who are deep connections with who you are. The question is, when are you ready to pull the trigger on that? And where do you want to go? Where do you want to end up? Someone said earlier, I think it might have been Poppy, that Tony Robbins, he said, if you're looking in the rearview mirror all the time, you're going to crash the car. Exactly. If you're looking at your past relationships, you're not steering where you want to go. You're not steering where you want to go. So really, there's a combination of things that we get. There's like a balance here, right? You want to have a clear intention on what you want. You want to have Lee says monogamy is unnatural. And Lee, that's a big statement. I mean, I think I have read something that, we are not engineered, humans aren't necessarily engineered to be monogamous animals. I feel like for some people, monogamy is comfortable for them. And if you want to be in a monogamous relationship from an empowered space of it feels better for me as a fully realized, self-aware individual to be in a monogamous relationship, then do it. If it doesn't feel natural to you, if it feels weird to you, like Lee says, if it's unnatural for you, it doesn't feel right to you, then don't do it. There are plenty of people out there who, are comfortable not being in a monogamous relationship. That's the thing. Stop creating so much judgment. And if there's one thing that is essential to being in relationship, it's being able to release judgment. Judgment towards yourself, judgment towards the other people that you're going out there into the world with. Like, how often have you just like swiping left and right, and you're just playing the judging game? Judge, 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 judge. Like, what would be possible if you could just remove judgment from dating? And I'm not saying don't practice discernment. You want to be discerning in the way that you want to discern and connect with people who are in alignment with what you want, right? So you want to have an understanding of what you want and be operating from alignment with that, and then be discerning when you're picking the people who you're hanging out with on, these people are in alignment with where they're at. And then, as Lee's saying, for God's sake, y'all, meet them where they're at. Don't judge where they're at. I was listening to a Facebook or a YouTube on this earlier, and she was talking about how so many women, they like want a man who has all these they want a man who's a surgeon, they want a man who's accomplished and who has all these, blah, 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 blah things. But then they complain that he's not around. They complain that he's so busy, that he's so preoccupied. Like, he's a surgeon, so he's gone all the time, and then he's always got the weight of, people's lives in his head, and she's complaining about that. And, it's like, honey, that's what you signed up for, because that's what you thought you wanted. But that's because you put your focus on his accomplishments and what that would make you look like, rather than on how you actually want to feel in that relationship. So, stop judging guys just because maybe they're not rich, or they don't have a highfalutin job, right? Maybe a man who works construction or has a normal job might be the greatest, most loving, most nurturing man, the best father you could possibly imagine. But you would have never connected with him because he wasn't a six-figure daddy or whatever, right? Like, my dad, I can tell you, my dad, greatest dad in history, loving, vulnerable, like powerful, nurturing. I felt so safe. I felt so provided for my entire life. My dad worked his ass off every day, came home covered in sawdust every night. If my mom had been with another man, a rich man, which she had many men courting her at the time when she ended up not settling, but committing to my dad, she had a lot of rich guys that wanted to be with her. But I guarantee you, none of them could have possibly been the same quality father as my working man dad, So yeah, connect with the person that they be, not the work that they do. I love it. And I think that's so important, guys, is how is the man showing up? Rather than just looking at what he's doing, how is the man that you're bringing into your life showing up? That's a really powerful question. Like, how do you want a man to be with you in relationship? Stop just caring about the bank account. Poppy says our culture is quite superficial. We need to understand the difference between discernment, compromise, and demand for perfection and instant gratification. Yeah, absolutely. And these are all those concepts. So we got discernment, compromise, and demand for perfection. Yeah, I think a lot of times demanding for perfection and seeking instant gratification are two of the biggest ways that we hide from a relationship, right? I think perfectionism is one of the greatest tools for hiding in all parts of our lives, right? Like, we don't launch that course, we don't write that book, we don't launch that business, we don't do anything because it's not perfect yet. We won't go out on a third date with this guy because we found one little thing that's wrong with him. He's not perfect yet, right? Like, perfectionism is a cancer. It's a cancer, and it's the ultimate way of procrastinating, hiding, and depriving ourselves of things that could be beautiful. And yeah, we got to get out of the habit of doing that. Discernment is different than demanding perfection. Discernment is like this balance, right? Of having clarity around what you want and how you want to feel, having clarity around that, having a powerful intention around that, but also being open, I think, to the possibility that maybe the way you think you're going to achieve that result might be different than what you have in mind. Like, you can have a picture of the perfect man in your head, but who knows? Who knows if that's the guy? if that's the guy that's really going to light you up? Who's to say that you know yourself well enough to know all the ways that a man could make you happy? I think that there's an openness that comes with discernment. It's a combination of clarity and openness. So if you can just be clear about the fact that, you don't necessarily know every way that a man can light you up, and be open to men that don't necessarily fit your mold, that's when that's so much more fun, right? Because then life can be exciting. It can be much more, instead of just dating that same type of guy over and over and over again until he hits. Yeah. And then instant gratification, is another huge, huge thing. I love how Lee called you poopy. That's great. Poppy says, of all the men I've connected with, the trash man she dated had the greatest moral compass. He is fabulous. Look at that, a trash guy. That's incredible, guys. So that's another thing. Releasing judgment, practicing discernment, but doing it with openness, having clarity and specificity, but also being open to something else, right? Being open to something like, I want to have a man that, has this, and this quality, or something better. I want to feel this, and this way in relationship, or something better. Just always leaving the door open for more. Because I think if there's one thing that happens to us so often in relationship, is we sell ourselves short, we play small, and we don't keep the door open for the true beauty of what awaits us. So if there's anything that the show has done, I hope that it's opened your eyes to that. I hope that it's opened your hearts to something, to the possibility of something greater. That's my hope for each and every one of you, that you've expanded as a result of the show, and just know that I have as well. I have expanded profoundly from talking to you guys and connecting with you guys every week. And as Lee says, we cannot fathom what the universe has in store for us. We can't. There's so much beauty there. So be open to it, because you're all worthy of deep, profound, incredible love. And that's what I wish for each and every one of you. And I know Rebecca does too, and we're going to miss doing this every week, but just know that we're both going to be doing other really amazing work on our Facebook pages and on our YouTube channel. So please, if you haven't followed, if this resonated with you, please share it. Let's get this out to as many people as possible. And stay tuned, follow and subscribe to my channel here. And be sure to follow Rebecca. Join the Brave Ladies group if you happen to be a lady and you also happen to be brave, or you want to be brave. And we will see, guys, we'll see you around. So this is not goodbye. This is just, we will see you later in a bunch of different formats. So I hope this stuff landed with y'all. I hope you guys have enjoyed this show. Poppy, you're amazing. We love you dearly. And we're so grateful for all you guys and the role you've played in our lives. So love you, Jill. Love you, Lee. Love you, Poppy, Michelle, everybody who's watching and who's been watching. You guys are why I do this work. And I know why Rebecca does this work as well. We are here to serve y'all. So thank you for being a part of our journey. We love you dearly. And signing off from Wasabi Wednesday for the last time, but not forever. All right. Talk to you later, guys. Lots of love. Bye-bye.